Today, I'm actually going to talk to you about unlocking joy. There's a power in unlocking joy that actually leads to something that's called receptional design. I'm going to tell you what that is, but before I do, I actually want to talk to you about the concept of if every day we kept a joy journal and we wrote down joy moments, you might make note of all the funny things that might have happened. I mean, in my joy journal, I just wrote about that because that was awesome. But you might write about something your kid said or a great meal. Lots of people are taking pictures of great meals. You might talk about something your friend said or something funny that happened or the fact that the weather finally changed. Lots of things makes us happy, and the things that make us happy are definitely the things we like to share. I'm definitely sharing that dance. What might surprise you is if you were going to write down all the things throughout your day that made you happy, you might actually write a few things about brands. Let me tell you about a few of mine. I don't live here in Los Angeles. I actually live north of San Francisco in a county called Marin. And sometimes I start my day with a hike on Mount Tam. I often forget, being a New Yorker, that San Francisco summers can sometimes be like other people's winters. The other day I was hiking and I put on this Lululemon top. I think I've had that thing for 5 years. And I was going up the hill and it was freezing, but I hadn't remembered to take the right jacket. So at that moment, I realized that my top actually had these sleeves that were folded over, so I decided to sort of make mittens out of them. And as I did that, right there inside this top that I swear I've worn 1,000 times, was a message. It said, "Cold hands, warm heart." And I thought, are you kidding me? Like, that thing has been there for all these years, all this time, and I never knew that message was waiting for me? Lululemon loved me that day. It was so sweet. It was so thoughtful. And they waited for that moment when my hands were cold to actually tell me that they cared about me. I don't think that message went in that morning, but I never needed it before. After that, I went to my favorite coffee shop. If you haven't heard of Phil's, it's definitely the best coffee in the Bay Area, I think the country. What's so great about it, and if you do try it, Tesora's Blend's my favorite, is that they don't only care about making a great cup of coffee for you, and each cup is handmade. They actually care about giving you a beautiful day. And when you stop in Phil's Coffee, in fact, last time I was there, the barista said to me, "Is that your perfect cup? Taste it, Tina. I want to make sure I have the right amount of sugar for you." He remembered my name. He remembered that I like it sweet. And he wanted to make sure that he sent me off with a perfect cup. And I said, "It's great." He goes, "Okay, that's how you begin." And I said, "To drink it?" He said, "No, your day." And I thought, wow, that was so nice. Then there are moments where I feel like so anxious. I don't know if anyone here has airport stress, but I so suffer from airport stress, packing stress, airport stress, blah. So I was coming yesterday to the airport, and once again, I was suffering airport stress. And I said, God, what can I do? I know, I'll pop open an Uber. It's definitely better than Xanax. And lo and behold, it's right there. It tells me there's like 5 cars, and they're 3 minutes away. I felt so much better. I mean, all those interactions, they make my joy journal. Why? They were kind of ordinary, but they tapped into this moment of emotion. Lululemon, tops, athletic wear, Phil's, coffee, Uber, an application for transportation. They all had one thing in common. These experiences were designed to include me at that exact moment when I needed it. I mean, it took 5 years for me to find that message. When that cup was handed to me, it was given for me for a very specific reason. These micro emotional moments transformed my mood, and they made the joy journal. But why is emotion so powerful? I wanted to understand that. We often say like that emotions are inside you. Oh, I have a gut feeling. Or that melts my heart or breaks my heart. Well, guess what? None of these emotions are in your gut. They're not in your heart. They're all in your head. All of it is happening inside of our brain. So as I began to study this, I was like, well, what's really going on inside the brain that's tied to happiness? Today, there's this huge field of study dedicated to happiness research, from psychology to neuroscience to philosophy. I mean, TEDTalks alone could fill reams of pages about happiness talks. And each one of them covers a different aspect of it. And for me, I actually wanted to understand what was going on inside the brain that gave me those moments of joy. What made me feel happy? What relieved my anxiety? What made me feel supported? What warmed my hands besides the fabric on that shirt? In a nutshell, it turns out that there's these structural and chemical components in your brain, and together they all form a sense of happiness. All of these different emotions can answer lots of different questions. They can ask if we can design better experiences. They ask if we can actually help put ourselves in the shoes of the audience. Can we ask better questions? What's the mindset of somebody when they're actually touching something in real time? What's the reception of that experience? What do they need to feel? How do we actually transform their state at that precise moment of engagement? What does that mean? Can we do that? I posit that we can. I mean, I'm talking about something that's not just human-centered design. It's not just a mindset. It's actually something that's focused on that precise moment of reception. So if you take human-centered design, and that's a practice that's all over the place. Stanford has a great D school that studies it. It's at RISD and everywhere. But you say, what does it mean to go not just human-centered design, but actually real-time design, that moment of reception? I'm not just thinking of the person. I'm thinking of the person at the moment that they're actually getting that feeling, that moment where reception and exceptional come together. I call that receptional design. If executed well, it can actually unlock all these exceptional experiences and unlock what we talked about when we started, which are joy moments. So as I began to study that, I said, what is actually happening in the brain? It's like a huge processing center, but there's got to be these reward centers that actually trigger a lot of these chemicals. So I said, okay, serotonin. That rises as you feel less anxious. So Uber would be a great example of something that actually kicked that chemistry in for me. Then I think about dopamine. Well, that's released when you feel like you've won something, you've achieved a goal. Endorphins, we've all heard about an endorphin high. It's energizing, it's rejuvenating, it makes me feel alive. And then finally, oxytocin. Well, that's released when we feel loved, when we feel supported, we feel like somebody's nurturing you, someone's caring for you, someone actually wants to love you. Those are the chemicals that go on that actually release those emotions. So let's go back to my joy journal for a second, now that you sort of get the baseline there. So I did get in the Uber, and of course I checked my Facebook when I got there. And there were, I had posted the TED Talk. Ken asked me to, and it was fun. And all of a sudden, there were 83 people who were excited that I were coming. And 17 of them actually commented on it. It made me feel so loved. It made me feel so supported. And I'm like, wow, they're rooting for me. This is awesome. And then I thought, God, Facebook gets this at a level that is so deep. It's not just about that post. It's about the likes. It actually makes us feel good. How do we use that across a lot of different experiences? So many of you have probably seen this screen. This is the before screen that doesn't exist anymore. That's to untag me. And it says, that's not me. Please untag me. Very binary screen. Well, one of their engineers actually went to mindfulness training, and he came back and he redeployed the screen. And this is what the screen looks like now. It actually talks about the fact, untag me because it makes me sad. That picture is embarrassing. That's not a good picture of me. Well, guess what happened? You'd be surprised to know, or maybe not, 3 times engagement tripled just by changing the copy on that screen. That's taking what happens when people feel loved and supported, when they actually feel like Facebook's trying to help them. Facebook gets this on such a deep, visceral level. Feeling embarrassed or a bad picture, those are the things that people feel like, wow, someone's listening to me. It's not like I'm just reporting someone because they tagged me. That's a receptional experience right there. So then I thought, well, if I'm coming today, how can I talk to you about receptional design and unlocking joy in ways that you can actually apply it, in ways that you can think about it? What would be some factors that actually might make you think about ways in which to do that in your own experiences? What are those factors that help you unlock joy? So let's talk about the first one. I call this the confidence factor, living the 4-star life. And when I talk about the 4-star life, I'm not talking about the Four Seasons or the St. Regis. I'm actually talking about the wisdom of the crowds. I'm actually talking about that everybody who's gone before you, who's lived in that world of so much choice, can be completely overwhelmed by what they're going to choose. So they let the crowd do it for them. They're on the verge of making a purchase decision, a restaurant decision, an entertainment decision, what movie they're going to watch, and they say, wow, what did everybody else think? In fact, Comcast, in their new X1 platform, not only do they give you their guide, but they're actually pulling in Rotten Tomatoes. So if you want to search movies by that, you can search it that way, because it's not always what the host thinks that's going to be the best movie. I want to know what the crowd thought. So pulling in that social intelligence can actually make you more confident in pulling better choices. In fact, the crowd can actually eliminate the fear of risk, so much so that people are sorting their results based on the crowd. That's the 4-star life. So many of you, I'm sure, are Amazon shoppers. Do you know that most people today, when they're actually sorting product results on Amazon, are sorting it by the reviews? Unless, of course, you're a Prime member like me and you care about free shipping. So when was the last time you thought about making a travel decision based on a brochure or a website? Absolutely not. You want to actually know what the crowd thinks. Did somebody stay at that home away before me? What was the house really like? How many stars did it get? In our time-pressed culture, travel is a luxury, not only by cost, but by time. I don't want to have any risk in that vacation. I want to know exactly what everybody thought before I actually book those tickets, before I go. It goes further. If a truly receptional experience, when possible, should be real-time. So she's on her iPhone. Her iPhone is sort of like a cursor in the real world. And she wants to go somewhere, and Yelp knows that. So they can pin it right then and there, and not only tell her about the review of the restaurant, but exactly how to get there from where she's standing. That's a receptional experience. They're actually anticipating that she needs to know where she's going, and they're delivering something in real time with real experiences that make her feel supported, make her feel loved, and make her feel confident that she's actually going to go where she needs to go. She has a sense of mastery at that very moment because her iPhone has become a guide for her, and the crowd is by her side. They're delivering an exceptional experience. Second factor, surprise and delight. I think many of you often have ordered from a little site called Zappos. Now, why do we order from Zappos? Well, they say it's, free shipping both ways. Okay, well, that's why I order from Zappos. But what's interesting about that, you may have had this experience where you order from Zappos, you know it's going to be free shipping, and then you find out that you've just been upgraded, and your package is actually going to get there tomorrow, and you're a VIP that day. Well, guess what? Not only does that feel amazing, but that was an operational logistical thing, which is they made the plane. They're sending planes out every day, and if they can get your package on the plane, you just became a VIP. But some great marketer figured that out and said, wait a second, that's amazing. We can turn that into a receptional experience. We can say, whoa, you've just been upgraded. You're a VIP today. And that feeling where all of a sudden Zappos tapped you, you already knew you were going to get your package, but the fact that you're going to get it the next day makes Zappos a hero and makes you feel incredibly special. They love you, and you love them. But it's not just Zappos. There's lots of different places that can deliver these kinds of experiences that you don't even know are waiting for you. So for most of us, it's World Cup season. For my 15-year-old son, this is the NFL preseason. I don't know how NFL goes 12 months a year, but in my house, it tends to. So he came to me the other day, and he said, Mom, I just had a big growth spurt. I'm like, okay, I know this is going somewhere. He said, and you know that Tom Brady jersey I have? Yes. Doesn't fit me anymore. Well, glad that he's thinking ahead. He's not thinking about the reading list for the fall, but he is thinking about the fact that the Tom Brady's not fitting. Brady jersey's not fitting. So I told him, okay, this is a crisis. Go on the web and find the best price, and we'll discuss it. He always knows when I say we'll discuss it that he's like in. So it turns out that the web does a really good job working with the NFL to control pricing. Every Tom Brady jersey on the internet is $100. I don't know how they do that. Roger Goodell's a genius, man. Anyways, so he finds it on Sports Authority, and then we discuss, well, who's going to pay for the new Tom Brady jersey? So I said, you know what? Let's settle this on the ping pong table. So we leave the kitchen, and we go to play ping pong. We come back, I don't know, 5, 10 minutes later, and lo and behold, Sports Authority pops up a little thing that says 10% off if we order it now. We were like, yes! No, actually, that was Jacob. I did not feel the need to high-five just quite as hard as he did, but we definitely felt like we won. Now, once again, Sports Authority, they were trying to manage shopping cart abandonment. Not a very sexy receptional experience, but they turned it into one. They turned it into one that made us feel like we won, and we were literally high-fiving each other. That's receptional design. The third factor is what I like to call the transparency factor. For those chess players in the audience, think 3 moves ahead. Experiences don't always have to be a big one. Remember before I told you about my Uber experience? What was remarkable about that experience, and if you look at the screen, you can see that it says that there are, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars, and they're 3 minutes ahead, 3 minutes away. I haven't even ordered the Uber yet. All I did was open up the app. They pulled forward information that was probably my second and third question, and they put it into the immediate experience of what would happen when I opened it up. They pulled forward the transparency of how many cars and how long it was going to take. Those were my next 2 questions, and they put that into the experience right up front. That's a joy gesture. You don't even realize that you were anticipating those questions, but they were definitely in your mind. And guess what? They can be even smaller. So I have another son named Charlie, and it was Father's Day last week, and he was sleeping at his dad's house. And of course, as his mom, I texted him that morning and said, don't forget to call your grandfathers. And so what was great about that, I mean, it turns out, and this is not a simulated text, that he said that he would. But what I normally feel when I text my boys, I don't know if any of you have teenage boys who don't text you back, was this tiny little notification that said he read it. If you're texting within iMessage, the people at Apple are so thoughtful, not just about helping you deliver a text message, but actually anticipating that question that you often have in your mind is, did he get it? Did he read it? They tell you that. They actually told me that not only did he get it, he read it and it was delivered, and what time. Transparency, or pulling ahead those moves, tied to your need state, which is a little bit in that case of anxiety, is the magic of a receptional experience. Which leads me to story factor number 3, which is absolutely why we're here in this town. No one is better at stories than Hollywood, right? A powerful story can unlock emotion. This is an old news. There's fear. You know that image and you feel it. You've seen that movie. You remember it. Triumph. He made it to the top of the stairs. He's going to make it in the ring. And then finally, joy. Hollywood's tools for unlocking emotion include stories, right? We write them here. There are many great authors and writers in the audience. Acting, directing, lighting, costumes, pacing, editing, music, soundtracks, visual effects, even laugh tracks. Storytelling has always transformed audiences from one emotional state to another. But the narrative of consumer experiences, they don't need to be simulated. Reality TV, I mean, it gets a little bit closer, but receptional experiences are about reality. They're about life. They're about understanding your emotion, exactly where you are at that moment, pure and simple, and delivering an experience that's receptional. So you remember I talked about my cold hands, warm heart, and I talked about my Phil's coffee, and I talked about my Uber experience. All of these stories I looked up after thinking that those were receptional experiences. Well, guess what? There are thousands of tweets, thousands of pins, and thousands of posts all about that same experience because other people had them too. And it moved them in ways they felt that they needed to get told. When people have receptional experiences, they turn them into their own stories. And those stories get told. And the stories that touch people's emotions get told. None of these are my messages. These are all messages that I found after the fact, but they were all a window into a personal story. Because really, it's not about the tweet, it's about the retweet. That makes you feel good. How many people retweeted me? It's not about the pin, it's about the repin. And it's certainly not about the post on Facebook. As I showed you, it's about the like, and so on, and so on, and so on. When you unlock great stories from people, whether it's online or offline, they share those stories. They share them to your network, and they share them to their network's network. And when consumer has that kind of an emotional connection with your product, you've made her a part of your story. We're now part of that Lululemon story. Phil's took with me all day. That experience made the narrative that was real my own. And it made that brand my own. And so those are the things that people share. And I often say that when people share, it's no longer about what a brand says about itself. It's really what a friend tells a friend. So what do we really learn through all of this? First of all, I posit that brands can absolutely unlock joy. Joy doesn't need to be some overwhelming euphoria, some great crescendo. I've shown you so many examples of things that happen in your quotidian life that actually can unlock a little bit of joy for you and for your end users. We found out that joy is rooted in the brain. It's not in your gut. It's not in your heart. And that touching someone emotionally and understanding the way the brain processes information can help us all design better experiences. We learned that experience design extends through the customer journey through reception. So it's not just about that product or that film or that experience that you made. It's about how it's received. Great restaurants do this so well. Before the meal ever hits your table, they're thinking about how you're going to receive that. And that becomes part of the escape of going out for that great meal. If you can anticipate your customers' real-time needs, you can build trust and loyalty and confidence. Remember, 3 steps ahead. Always think like a chess player. Anticipate what's next for them. And finally, small, intimate interactions can unlock exceptional narratives. When any user or any consumer or any audience makes a story their own, that's when the magic happens, and that's when things get shared. So if you think about these factors in unlocking joy, if you think about the ways in which they can actually touch people emotionally, hopefully you'll begin to observe real-time interactions, how you touch people, and then maybe be inspired to unlock some joy for yourself and for your audiences and for the people in your world. And that would be a receptional experience. Thank you so much.